Welcome to Season 6, Episode 2 of the Drone to 1K podcast. I'm David Young, I'm your host, and today I'm talking with my good friend Cody Retlich of Midwest Aerial Productions and DroneAdair. We last talked to Cody, I believe, in 2020, and he's given us an update on his business from 2020 to 2023 and all the awesome stuff that happened. So we talk about him filming all the drone shots for the Ryder Cup, doing a bunch of cell tower inspections, and a bunch of other really cool work that he's done. And then he talks about his new business that he launched, which is called DroneAdair. Tells us what that is and why it's good. So, hope you guys enjoy this episode. Let's get right into it with Cody Retlich. All right, welcome back to the podcast, Cody Retlich from Midwest Aerial Productions and also DroneAdair. Thanks for coming on, Cody.
You bet. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So if you don't know this already, Cody is a repeat guest on the Drone to 1K podcast. He's been kind enough to return for season 6. He was originally on season 2, episode 9, and we were actually just looking that up. And that was in the spring of 2020 that was released. I think you and I either recorded that like late 2019 or very early 2020. So about 3 years ago now. Excited to have you back on and give some updates about how your drone business has been doing since then, how life's been going, any other cool things you got going on. So I'm looking forward to getting the update.
Yeah, it's wild. We were just talking about it. I know earlier. It's doesn't seem like 3 years. I feel like it was yesterday, but also then again, I feel like I've known you now for 10 years or more. So it's insane that it really only has been 3 years. But I guess
It's
that
like
whole
10
year,
years in drone years, you know?
yeah, yeah, and pandemic years. It's extra
Yeah.
horrible. So, but yeah, I'm happy to be back on. It's exciting to see ones where you guys have come to. Just the industry as a whole is exciting, kind of where we're going as well.
So for people who have not listened to your past episode, let's say somebody's just diving in and they stumble across this episode, they have no idea who you are. Why don't we first start off with giving just kind of a quick kind of recap of when you started your business, how you started, and then, all the way up until 2020. Do that kind of like the expedited version. Give us the Cliff Notes version of how you started your business and where it went from then until 2020.
All right. Cliff notes. I can do that. I mean, drones, I've been flying for 10 years for fun. Really didn't start actually getting into drones until college, where I worked on a market research project that was all around agriculture and drones, which was kind of blew my mind at that time of where drones were going to be in the future. And, that was almost a decade ago. So it was kind of insane to see what it had already transpired to be back then. So that's where I started the love for drones, kind of get introduced to it. And then worked in sales for a couple years after school, hated it. I absolutely hated it. And I wanted to do
You
something
hated
else.
sales?
I hated sales. It was not about the sales. I think it was more about like just the process and the company that I was working for more than anything. Right. It was
Gotcha.
just ridiculous. They were, it was, what are you doing for me today? Right. And it's always that mentality. So in sales, but I wanted to do something more passionate, and that was drones for sure. So I hopped on, quit my job, started caddying at Whistling Straits. If you've heard the story, I did it from networking and marketing.
You quit your job and then went to go caddy. So like you wasn't even like your drone business was
The drone
already
business
up and
has
going.
not been up yet. I had the name, I had my license, I was ready to go with a couple clients, but I wasn't at the point where I was like, all right, I'm making enough money per month to just fully quit. So I'm like, let's
Mhm.
go get this side gig. Really only do it 4 or 5 times a week, but it allowed me the flexibility where I'd only work probably like 5 to 6 hours a day when I was there, where I could really then build the business and grow that and have the
Yeah.
flexibility to kind of do what I needed to start this business.
Caddying at Whistling Straits, you were doing that. I'm assuming you met some cool people that way?
Yeah, for sure. We met a lot of awesome people, a lot of executives, big time names that you guys would know in the industry, but also like golf industry. But every time you're there, you never know who is going to pass by you at some point, right? I mean, I've seen past presidents. I've seen the biggest of the big, from Jason Day to, I think Rory was there a couple times. I've seen a lot of people just pass through there. It's just an amazing place to be. It's an awesome office. Doing that, I kind of also just picked a lot of the executives' brains of like top level companies that I was meeting to understand kind of like if they were going to use drones in the future, if they had heard of drones being used for inspections or for whatever else. I kind of attributed to what I thought their business could use and then kind of learned from that and started MAP, did that for a couple of years, kind of transitioned it into more of a brokerage model because I saw a fit for a more hands-on approach rather than your typical marketplaces out there of what
So
they
hold on
were.
real quick. So MAP, explain what MAP is to everyone since you haven't talked about that acronym
Yeah.
yet.
So Midwest Aerial Productions.
And where are you from?
I'm from Wisconsin, or
Okay.
as people think I say, Wisconsin,
Wisconsin. So
depending on the
you're
region, but
so you're doing like cheese curd delivery and stuff?
totally. How did you know? Yeah, for sure. I
Ro-
Sorry though, I did just map 360 acres in Wisconsin in a town called Cheeseville, Wisconsin. So
No
the
way.
most Wisconsin thing you could do. And I had people even from Wisconsin like, that's not a real place. Like you're lying. I'm like,
Cheeseville?
I'm not actually like this is real. But it was funny. I'm like, this is insane.
Let's talk about that. What were you mapping out?
Farm field for the farmers, and then there was also for the sale of the farm, so it was going to auction.
Okay.
We were doing some marketing along with us, like, kind of, mapping out all of the different properties and the different tracks.
Gotcha. Cool.
Yeah.
Cheeseville.
Um,
All right. So when you said, you started MAP and then you went to a brokerage model, what does that mean? And kind of explain that a bit.
yeah, I mean, when I started originally, it was just local stuff, right? It was understanding kind of what industries were gonna use drones back then and how they were gonna use them, but I kinda started gaining traction across the Midwest and then got some clients throughout the United States that then kind of kept pushing the boundaries to what we could do, and I think why we were so successful is because we weren't a typical marketplace. We were really paying the pilots what they deserve. We were being hands-on with them, finding the right pilot for a client's specific needs. So we kind of transitioned into the way of let's do it. Let's figure out exactly what these clients needs from, if they need thermal, if they need mapping, if they need a certain certification or, a certain type of drone, rather than just throwing out a job and seeing who creates the lowest bid or who's sitting at the computer first and can click accept first. Congrats, you got the job, but you're never going to get reoccurring work from that client. And you're probably going to be underpaid. And now you're just subscribing to the race to the bottom mentality of what a lot of these are. Right. So we didn't
Yeah.
want to do that. We flipped the margins on their heads from what typically drone pilots were used to. And we just built a lot of really great relationships with the pilots and then our clients. And then by doing that, figured out a better way to potentially provide a service and a SaaS solution for both sides of that market.
Yeah. From what I know about your business too, it's like you were doing the drone work and people were finding your website and asking you to do drone jobs, but they just happened to be kind of all over the place. So instead of just being like, we can't do that, you were just like, hey, let me see if I can find a pilot that I can work with in that area. And it kind of just naturally expanded that way, right? Where you just kept getting jobs at different places. Or like, I remember you said you got a contract to inspect a bunch of cell towers, right? And you had to
Mhm.
go find a bunch of pilots all over the country to help you with that job and complete that since they were all over the place. And the only alternative was for you to basically not live at home anymore and just fly constantly to a bunch of different cell
Yeah,
towers.
I didn't want to
And
do
so,
that. I had traveled
yeah,
enough, doing other stuff in the past. So I was like, yeah, it's not for me. But in that way, yeah, we also went to clients from my sales background. I had seeked out a lot of clients that I thought were great for drones, but we had a couple nice contracts that were across the United States that allowed us to expand the network and become more of that brokerage model, which
yeah,
again led to us growing the network pretty rapidly.
that's awesome. So, when year did you start all this up?
Map officially started, I believe, in 2017,
Okay.
2016,
So
2016.
2016, 2017, kind of beginning of the Part 107 era, if you will, to
Mhm.
2020. What were like some of your like key highlights, maybe like favorite jobs or like biggest contracts, something like that? What were some of the biggest milestones that you hit?
Some of them I still can't name because I have NDAs with them, but,
Or whatever you can't say.
large insurance clients for sure, big cell towers. My favorite job to this date is still being a part of the Ryder Cup at Whistling Straits. There's no doubt about that.
And
Um,
when was that?
That scheduled for 2020, they actually pushed it back to 2021. So all the
Okay.
gear, actually, all the Ryder Cup gear still says 2020 on it, which
Oh,
is
really?
kind of crazy because it didn't happen until 2021. But they didn't want to change all the branding and they already ordered all this merch and stuff. So
Yeah.
they went with it. But yeah, being
Yeah.
part of that was was still today probably my favorite job just because it had a special place in my heart being a caddy there for a few years and
Oh yeah.
or a few seasons, I should say.
So let's talk about so basically insurance companies, cell towers, that was kind of some big stuff in 20 or from 2017 to 2020. So then let's pick up in 2020 and go from there because these are going to be fresh stories that no one's ever heard, even if they listened to your old episode. Sounds like one of the first things that happened was you getting a job to do work for the Ryder Cup, which they hold that at Whistling Straits golf course. Is that right?
They did that year. So it
Yeah.
rotates all the time. It's every 2 years. It's either in the United States or in Europe. And don't quote me on this, but I think it's like 7 years out that they plan for each or 8 years
Wow.
out of every
It's
single
like the
one.
Olympics.
Yeah. So there's sites that are already determined for a ways out and Whistling got it. And I don't know if they'll ever get another one. I hope they would, but that's probably really the only they've had PGA championships theirs in the past, US senior opens, things like that. It's just an amazing event to have at your course. And
Yeah.
it's Europe versus United States. So it's a true party, which golf is usually not.
That's awesome. So I guess first tell us what did you end up doing for that golf tournament, and then I'd be interested to hear more details on like how you went about landing that job.
Well, because of my relationship with the course, I kinda had reached out ahead of time. I had done footage for the course and for the company that owned, Whistling Straits, so, I was able to do some of that stuff ahead of time, and Ryder Cup Europe was actually they're different entities, so they're all separate entities, Europe, US, and just Ryder Cup in general. So they kinda had passed my name off and Map's name off to Ryder Cup Europe, and we ended up doing some whole flyovers and some FPV tour stuff of, like, tee to green, and clubhouse and that type of stuff. And then, we just did a bunch of other stuff for the course as well, being a part of pre-tournament type setup, of what goes into putting on a Ryder Cup.
Well, I remember seeing some of your footage on TV when I was watching TV. At least I remember seeing a golf shot in a commercial that I think you shot. And then there was another one that was like during the Ryder Cup, some really cool like FPV fly through stuff and then some other shots that ended up on TV. So you're saying Ryder Cup Europe hired you and then the footage that you got for them ended up on like the being broadcast, or how did
Yeah,
that work?
they broadcasted it during the television, air of it. The commercial stuff actually was for a couple other clients as well that were larger local companies, in the Wisconsin area that actually just we shot separate commercials for them.
Oh, really?
Super nice. Yeah. So I actually didn't even know that those were airing. And I just randomly was watching the Ryder Cup and they turned on and I was like, whoa. It's like, I know where that came from.
Dude.
I knew what we were shooting for, but I didn't know that they were gonna be airing during the Ryder Cup, so that was pretty cool. But
Oh, that's
yeah, the
awesome.
FPV stuff, we brokered out some amazing crew from IDT that, we had a 45-minute window with the trophy, and literally we got it on the 3rd take, and we were able to get it done, but it was a tight timeline for us because the trophy is so coveted that it has a schedule, and it's a very tight schedule of when you can have that trophy, so
Describe the shot that they wanted you to get. Was this, like, dictated by Ryder Cup Europe with, like, "Hey, here's what we envision for the shot. Here's what we want," or were they like, "Hey, make us something cool," and then you guys had to come up with it? Like, how did that work?
we kinda collaborated on it together for a while, kind of, a couple meetings back and forth initially. We knew that they wanna do some sort of FPV stuff. We did on-course compilations of things too, so certain holes we did, like 12 was a very significant par 3. It's one of the most famous ones on the course, as well as 17. So we did a couple there where they, when the final groups were coming up to those holes, they actually aired those during the broadcast, which was pretty awesome.
Were you doing that with FPV stuff, or was that just
That was
regular kind of
FPV.
drone cinematography?
No, that was
Okay,
FPV, yeah. So,
cool.
and then the clubhouse to tee idea just kind of formed. I had thought in my head, because nobody has ever flown in the clubhouse there, that we should show this off. We did. And luckily, we got the approvals. It took a while and a lot of people, but they allowed us to do it. We ended up going up the clubhouse through the locker rooms and like showing off where they were. and then kind of their journey to the first tee. So their walk like that morning of the first day of the Ryder Cup, and then like we put in crowd noise into the stadium of like when they would walk out and circle the trophy, and then
Nice.
got that
Yeah.
feeling.
I remember a shot, I don't know at what point this was. Don't you fly, or not you, but your team fly through a car window or something? When does that
Yeah,
happen?
yeah, right away. We'd come underneath the walk, and then we come through a, I don't even 100,000 plus dollar Beamer that we, went through the car windows and then immediately into the clubhouse front doors.
And then you go through the clubhouse, locker rooms, and then you go out to the first tee.
Yeah, well, up the stairs into the clubhouse, through the window of the clubhouse, down below like a little trellis that is like a walkway
That's
over a
cool.
patio to the locker rooms, through the whole facilities that the players have, and then out to the walkway and through the tee box and through the stadium.
Do you still have that clip or that footage? Is that somewhere, like, is that on YouTube or anything that
Oh
we should
yeah, for sure.
link it up?
Yeah, well, we
Alright.
can have the link for this for sure.
Yeah, we'll put it somewhere. I don't know where you're watching this, somewhere below or show notes or something you can look
Yeah.
around for. We'll try to link up that shot. Alright, that's awesome. Did you end up having to do any drone flying yourself on this, or did you just get all team members to fly all this stuff?
Yeah, FPV, no. We had a team. I think there was like 4 or 5 of us there that day for that.
Okay,
But all the whole flyover stuff, and then all the everything that was not FPV, I was flying
okay.
inspired to for that.
I want Inspire too. Now, were you getting was someone else doing the camera operating, or are you doing the whole thing?
No, we had a cam op and then drone op. So I drone opt for most of it, or cam
Cool.
opt for some of the whole flyovers because I just like to. There were certain things that we were doing with the whole flyovers or that the client was doing with like strokes gained and whatnot that they wanted. So there's graphics that came up on the whole flyover. So at certain times, like we wanted the camera to tilt down as we were flying up so that they could like put a graphic over the green, show the undulation and show if someone goes in this bunker, how many strokes on average are they going to lose or gain, or how
Yeah.
side of the fairway, how much that'll affect their round. So
So you had to have the camera at a certain position or certain margins of spots, at
yeah,
specific times. Yeah,
yep.
that's cool. A lot of planning, it sounds like, that goes into all that stuff.
The FPV stuff. I mean, we were there for a full day, and we pretty much spent like 4 or 5 hours planning, and then
Mm,
flying course probably for maybe 2 hours, 3 hours. So
mm.
it's equal amount of planning for on course or on day for what we
Just to
were
get that just to get
sure.
that one shot.
We did some on course stuff too while we were up
Oh,
there.
yeah.
A couple hours for sure, just for the one shot.
Alright, so that's early, I guess, 2021 at that point, 2020 into 2021. I think, one nice thing about you were talking about getting that job, it's like you had some existing relationships from having worked there
Yeah.
and from knowing some of those people and kind of being a little bit proactive, it sounds like, in asking them about doing footage for, like, how did that work? Did you just go to the people you knew there and said, "Hey, I would love to do drone stuff for the Ryder Cup that's coming. Who can I talk to about that?" Like, what did that conversation sound like?
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned before, I had the relationship ahead of time. So I mean, I was dropping little notes for years beforehand.
Oh, really?
I was kind of like, hey, whenever the Ryder Cup comes, anything I can be involved in, obviously, I would love to be. So yeah, it was kind of a built up relationship because like I said, they're planned out for years ahead of time. So
Gotcha.
kind of knew that it was coming and I could plant that seed early. So it's just using the existing relationships to kind of start that. And then, they were gracious enough to just drop our names as well to pretty much everyone else that needed drone stuff that they could think of, which was awesome.
Nice. That's great, man. Let's rewind real quick from 2017 to 2020. Can you give us just like a sense of how your business was doing revenue wise, like in those early years and as it progressed through 2020? I don't know how specific you want to get. Everybody loves specific numbers,
Yeah.
but I don't want to force anything out of you. But like, can you just give us a sense of what that was like and your
Yeah,
growth?
I mean, early on, it was a side hustle money, right? It was nothing crazy. I was doing it as a side hustle to try to build it up and gain clients, and until about year two ish, like maybe a half year and a half to two, is when I
Mm,
really then it started like okay, actually, I caddied for 2 full seasons, and then that next season, I was 1 day a week because it was a full-time gig at that point. I just kept whistling to keep some relationships going and some free calls when I could. So literally it was by year 3 it was a full-time job for me personally, making great money as just flying drones. And then as we pivoted, it became, 6-figure business and above. And then we kind of were able to transition more into that brokerage model and started, gaining and landing more of these larger clients until we decided to pivot once again.
So let's talk about that. So, well, first off, thanks for the recap. I think that just helps people get a sense of time and, what the possibilities are for
Yeah.
sticking with something. Actually, on that note, it's funny. I was writing, so we've got this thing, if you guys are not familiar with it, it's called the 1K Club. So we have a course called Drone to 1K. If people go through that course, once they crack their first $1,000 month, they like report all their jobs and stuff in this little portal we have. They report their revenue. So once they crack their first K month, we like welcome them to the 1K Club. And part of you get this little box with like goodies like a plaque and a shirt and all stuff. But one of the things I write a handwritten note that we put in the boxes. So I was writing one today for a guy that is going to be a part of that, is joining that. And I was like just looking up some quick stats on my phone. I'm like, I wonder how long it normally takes for like a business to make money or to like make 1K. Because this person hadn't been going for super long, it didn't seem like. But I was Googling some stuff and it said that on average, businesses, it takes them 18 to 24 months just to be profitable, not even to like
Yeah.
make a whole bunch of money, but just to be profitable. And then it says I think they said 25% of businesses don't even make it to year 2. They're like folding. The fact that within
Yeah.
whatever 24 months you were making enough to be full time and then it grew from there was, I think that's awesome.
Was that any business or was that drone businesses?
Oh, it was just any business. It was like
Yeah.
general small business
Okay.
administration.
Yeah.
This was really in-depth 45-second Google search type of numbers. So, don't hold my feet to the fire.
Yeah.
Uh,
I would be
but I just had to
interested to see that though too, like from a drone business perspective of like how many people either A want to take it full time or have the ability to be a full time, but are still keeping it as a side hustle. Because I know plenty of pilots that are like they're making enough at their main job and also not drones that they're almost making two very
yeah.
nice salaries to do it. But
Oh,
I would just love to see those stats.
I know some people like that where they're just like, they work for the government or something like that. They're like, I get insurance, got nice job security. Like, I don't want to give up the cushiness of it, but they're making a pretty good amount of money with drones.
Yeah,
If they did it full time, they could kill it. But it's just kind
for
of
sure.
like, I don't want the volatility of business ownership. It's kind of nice to have a steady paycheck.
Yeah, for sure. It's a grind and it's not for everybody, but it's, one of the most rewarding things I would say if you can do it for sure.
Yeah, rewarding, but also has its own layers of stress involved at times. Thanks for the recap. Helpful to know. I think it's helpful for people listening. So talk about, you still have Midwest Aerial Productions even today, right? Like sounds like
Mhm.
you were out mapping a cheese farm, right? Or Cheeseville. What kind of farm was it? Obviously, there's no such thing as a cheese farm, but
Yeah, it's just a lot. I mean, they had cattle, they had growing alfalfa, corn. It's kind of
okay. So like
it
just
was a dairy farm, but also had a lot of crops and stuff.
dairy farm. That's kind of like cheese farm. I'm just
Well,
saying.
yeah,
So,
for sure. They ship the dairy off to get made into cheese. Yeah, you
right,
can't be
right.
called Cheeseville for nothing.
So I'm assuming that was probably part of MAP too, right?
That was part of MAP, yeah,
Yeah.
and honestly, just I don't do a whole lot of those anymore, but it was literally very close to me, which is kind of also wild because I thought I would have heard of it by then, but it was, it's like 35, 40 minutes away, so some of those things, if I'm around and if I have the time, I'm
Yeah.
still love to do it and keeps me sharp.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think it probably good kinda keeps you in the game, so to speak, of, like, interacting with clients, knowing what people want, see where the market's at, all that good stuff. So for
Absolutely.
a job like that, how long did something like that take you to do?
That was about 4 hours.
Okay. And
Yep.
then do you mind sharing, like, kinda what the revenue would is like on a job like that?
It was like 2,500.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
not bad, man.
Yeah.
Not bad at
Yeah,
all.
no, for sure. It's a good hourly.
Dude, you should call me. I would've flown up. You got me there. But no, that's awesome, man. Okay, so you've got Map. You're still doing some things here and there with that, but I know you have another thing that you've started also, which is like a software SaaS kind of company. So after we did our season 2, episode 9, I talked to Cody. I realized he was crushing it, right? He was like doing six figures with all this stuff. And I'm like, dude, this is right when we were creating the Drone to 1K course, the first version we ever did. I was like, hey, man, I want to do a drone business course, right? I started Drone Launch Academy as a training business. I had flown drones and done, some jobs here and there, but it wasn't like my main focus. But I interviewed all these people on the podcast who were crushing it, and that was their main focus. And I was like, so I don't want to make a course on this by myself because I don't have credibility and, I don't know what I'm talking about compared to someone like you. So Cody was gracious enough to be one of our like main instructors and talk about all the stuff from sales and marketing, how to get clients, all that important stuff. So
Yeah.
I flew up to Wisconsin and we filmed together, and that's when I got to know you a lot better.
Yeah.
I think we actually had some cheese curds with some bar. I think we did have
I
some,
think we did actually.
yeah.
Yeah. That's funny. They
Yeah.
had to break
And
you in,
then
give you some spotted cow and some cheese curds. I mean, you can't leave Wisconsin without them.
dude, that's right. So anyway, so we became friends then, and then shortly afterwards, we had follow up conversations, and you were like, "Hey, I really have this vision to start this kind of software that I think will help drone pilots." And I just think it's been really cool to see you stick with it and see it develop, and now it's like a real thing. So I don't want to give too much away. I'll let you talk. Why don't you tell us about what that is and what it does?
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. It is crazy to see kind of the transition because I have been wanting to do it for probably 4 to 5 years. But really, the last 2.5 years is when we started developing it. And we finally have a first version paid product for the pilot side of the platform back in May that we released. And we're super excited, to have pilots on it, using it and giving us feedback because it was started for them in mind. Because at the end of the day, we felt that we wanted to help pilots grow and scale a business that they can make it full time. Because, like as we talked about in the past, there's a lot of other companies that are doing brokerage in a way where it's not helpful for anybody but themselves.
Kind of like the pilot networks and stuff out there.
Exactly. Yeah. Everyone, I feel like there's so many pilot networks out there these days, right? But a common problem that we found was that, pilots aren't able to create these recurring relationships. And at the same time, they're having 50 to 60% of their time just doing tasks that they don't like to do, right? They want to get back to flying. And that's what we have created. So it's kind of with us working with hundreds and thousands of pilots throughout the last, 6, 7 years, really, we kind of taken a lot of their feedback, our own experiences, and put it into something where they can use it to automate their business from the operational back end standpoint. So book jobs, get paid, use it as a mission management file transfer structure. So client management all in one with
Mhm.
your current clients, with your prospective clients. But then our enterprise model that'll come out later this year, then we really take that brokerage model to a new level where we allow, these pilots to tap into larger pilot network groups or companies that need drone services continuously, right? And then they can kind of be able to create these recurring relationships, but the clients then also get a way for them to automate their distribution of missions and data and deliverables and know that they're going to get a quality product but also consistently and not have to find and locate and vet and interview all these pilots and not know where they were, how did they get the files from them? What license did they have? Or are they insured? Everything all in one, right? So it's giving both enterprise clients, drone pilots, and drone companies SaaS tools to automate, their business together. But then it's also giving them a way for them to interact and create recurring relationships rather than just these one-off type of jobs that they can both grow their businesses together then.
And real quick, it's called DroneAdair. You never said
So
the name.
that I reviewed it or not, but yes,
Well,
drone.
I introduced it at the very beginning, and you also have a shirt on, so, I mean, I think people can
There
figure it
we
out
go.
after
I
watching.
am in a blank office right now too because we just moved. So usually there's something up there
It's
about
true.
it, but I couldn't remember.
But yeah, no, I think it's really cool. It basically replaces your billing, showing people your portfolio, booking jobs. So it can almost kind of replace your website. A lot of these kind of things that you would have to set up or pay for individually, even just at the base level. So I think it's pretty nice.
A drone pilot's perspective, yeah. I mean, you look at it as a sales funnel slash marketing tool slash invoicing proposals, file management, transfer, all that stuff. It really into one for sure. But it's
Kind of,
geared towards drone pilots and creatives.
yeah. So you don't have to use Dropbox or Google Drive. I haven't used this software a lot, not yours, but, like another one. So I know for like wedding photographers and stuff, there's like Honeybook. I'm not sure if you've
Yeah.
ever heard of that.
Yeah, yeah.
It feels like a little bit like that, but for drone pilots. Again, I don't have a ton of experience with that, but just
Yeah.
from
In a
what I know
way, yeah,
about
in a way, there's definitely some
certain
similarities to
elements.
it for sure.
Yeah.
Certain elements, it's just more geared towards drone pilots, and obviously then the connection of the enterprise is where we really
Right. The
yeah,
next kind of like level up. Yeah.
yeah.
No, that's awesome. So if you guys are interested, don't worry. This is not like a sponsored podcast to just no, Cody's going. I just think it's a great software. And so
No, I
wanted to
appreciate
talk
it.
about it. One more thing, just something that's awesome that I just love that you do that I want to copy you on. I literally text Cody about this. I'm like,
I
all
was
right,
gonna
dude,
say, I already know what you're gonna
what do you,
talk about.
what do you say when you're trying to do this? Like I'm so over here trying to extract tips from Cody. So Cody is the king of trading services. Like this man gets so much crap for free, like vacations, a garage door, a garage floor, all this stuff. And he gets it for free by negotiating trades with people. So just tell us real quick about what you're getting for your Ritz Carlton. And not only does he get trade, he usually gets stuff for free and then figures out how to get paid like on top of it for doing this crap. Full disclosure, I want to turf my backyard and get like an awning built out there with some other stuff. It's probably like 15 grand worth of work at least in my backyard. I'm not going to pay for that right now. So I'm
Mhm.
over here like, all right, Cody, what can I do to get this price down or free? But tell us, so
Right?
you're going to the Ritz Carlton in Hawaii, right? And playing golf and doing a whole bunch of other stuff,
Yeah.
basically for free and kind of getting paid too, right?
We're gonna break even and, probably make a little bit after we're done with everything, but,
So you're
um
getting paid to go on vacation at the Ritz Carlton in Hawaii, and tell us how.
yeah, so we were gonna go out to Hawaii, a couple friends of ours, they had won a trip from their work, and they asked us to go with, and I said, "Ah, no, but yes, like, I would love to, but we, just bought a house, and it's expensive, and we were just there a couple weeks." But I'm like, "Wait, let me just try to work something out or
That's where
try to."
that Cody brain comes in.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
like,
hold on.
"Oh, I'm not
Let
gonna
me
say no yet. Let me just
yeah.
try to find something," right? So, I kind of reached out to some contacts that I had in the past from there, from my previous trips. I did work with a golf course there in the past. So I reached out to them. They kind of made a connection. I told them I was looking for a place to stay, to trade, and then they had a couple contacts for me at the Ritz, which we ended up working out a deal for. And then I reached out a couple other places and we got some trades as well with that. And then also some money on top for creating some content and just providing some raw footage and photos and things like that too. So all in all, I was thinking about it the other day. I was like adding it up because they even offered a pretty sick deal to our friends for a rate, for like a room rate, which I'm like, okay, if we're adding all this up, it's 15 to 20K very easily.
Like if
And
you were to go spend cash on that, yeah.
yeah, for sure. And I'm gonna make a little bit of cash off of it. Actually, I won't because I bought some new equipment just for it. But that's why I'm breaking. That's why I'm breaking even. I'm like, oh well, I'm gonna get a new. I'm gonna rent a lens. I already had the Mavic 3 Pro ready to rock. I just bought a couple other accessories for it and all this other stuff. But
Nice.
I'm like, you know what?
So you're shooting some like marketing materials for the Ritz Carlton Hotel, right? And then are you doing some stuff for the golf course too?
Yeah, so a couple golf courses, 2 different golf courses, and then the Ritz. So we'll be shooting a whole bunch of drone stuff for both of them. We're doing some fun flyovers and some, fun marketing material for them, some behind the scenes and some social media stuff. So there'll be a bunch out there. But yeah, it's kind of exciting to see that it happened so quickly. And immediately once it all kind of came together, I was like, why am I not doing this more for trips? Like this is I've done it in the past, but I've not done it to this level because I just haven't really given it a go at it for trips. I do it for everything else, but I just don't do it for trips. I'm like, I need to do this more often. This is awesome.
I love it. I love it. I want to try to copy your methods. But
Why not?
so
You're pay for
so
the stuff anyway, right?
yeah, here's the thing. I think people you get afraid of rejection. We have a drone business course, right? We talk people through this, like, oh, just call someone, like, kind of just get over the fear of like someone turning you down or whatever. But I can see how people get hung up because even as I was thinking about reaching out, I'm like, well, shoot, how would I approach this? And like, what would I say? What would I show them? like you get nervous thinking like, well, what if they think that that sucks? And what if they're like offended?
And you're in
You
the
just,
same exact spot as that
I
you
know.
were beforehand. So
I
what does
know.
it matter, right? I
I
mean,
know. I know. Exactly.
the fear of rejection is real, but I think once you can get over that, who cares at that point? It's like, all right, no worries, you're good.
I know.
Like then I'll move on to the next one. I probably reached out to 20 people or 20 different places or companies or things like that. Not places. There was a couple snorkeling tours. There's a couple like catamaran stuff, like some zip line,
Mhm.
that type of stuff. Because I was gonna do a whole vacation off of like a couple hours of work at each one of these spots. And then, so it turned out that the first 3 ended up working out eventually, but right away, I probably messaged 15 to 20 of 'em, right, like, within the
Hey,
first couple days, so,
it's awesome. It's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah,
I
it's
love
great.
it. So if
We
you learn
gotta
anything from this podcast episode, if you have any type of drone skills, video production skills, offer up a trade. At the very least, maybe they'll give you a discount.
I've seen it work in so many different ways too, like, creators with athletes, giving them free content, like, trading their services. Obviously, like, you're getting experience, you're getting portfolio work, you're getting the discount of you not buying or, if you're trading that type of stuff, like, you're trading either marketing or portfolio for your own, or you're trading stuff that you're gonna buy for anyways, and a relationship starter with some clients that you might want to become closer with in the future. So, it just opens the doors to more opportunity as well, and then more people might see your stuff eventually.
Love it. Maybe if we do a third episode with you in the future, I can report back on if I got free turf or not, and maybe I'll have
I can, yeah, we'll have to give you a little script rundown or something.
we need to do a workshop in our Drone Launch Connect membership. Just only how to get free stuff by trading your
Let's
drones.
do it. I would bring a bunch of examples. We got a free invisible fence coming when I get back for my dog because we're training an install video for it.
How do you even film an invisible fence, Cody? What do you do? Film the air?
They have it's invisible, right? No, they they have a machine. It's kind of like a
Believe me, guys, you don't see anything in this video, but there's a fence there
there's
for
a fence being installed. Guys on the machine installing it around your property. It's kind of like digs a trench and then puts like the wire below the property, and then
yeah, yeah.
we're showing them off like doing the training of the dog and that type of stuff. So I
Cool.
mean, yeah, you find a way, right? I mean, if they need the content and they're down for it, I mean, they're
Sure.
gonna pay for content anyway. So if they can just at the end of the day, they only have their costs too, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
why not?
Cheaper for them than taking profit money and then hiring a video production crew, right? Like everybody's just like operating a little bit cheaper rates.
For sure. Yeah.
I love it, man. Cool. Well, thanks for coming on. You guys want to check out Cody, Midwest Aerial Productions,
Yeah.
midwestaerialproduction.com.
Yeah.
You're on Instagram, Midwest Aerial Production in DroneAdair. Also DroneAdair spelled drone, ADAIR, correct? We'll link
Correct.
all this stuff up too.
Yep. Yep.
So check all that stuff out. Also, if you just want to see more of Cody's face, you might recognize him from our Drone to 1K program. Go back and listen to his other older podcast episode if you want. Cody, thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me. I always enjoy it.